الله أكبر الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. After indeed praising Allah Azza wa Jal, the Almighty, and passing salutation upon His Messenger Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, we go ahead with the explanation of Usool Sunnah lil Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. And those usuls are very important for us to learn in order to make sure that we are dying upon the aqidah and the correct manhaj. Everybody please get closer, jazakumullah khair. The point that was discussed last time was the point regarding Al-Masih al-Dajjal. And also in my explanation, I've included the following point, which is point 36. That is, and to have faith that Isa alayhi salam, the son of Maryam, would descend and will kill the Dajjal at the gate of Lud. We explained that as well. So we go straight away to the following point, that is point 37. وَالْإِيمَانُ قَوْلٌ وَعَمَلٌ يزيد وينقص كما جاء في الأثر أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم خلقا. And he says خلقا here, which is wrong, خلقا. Right, and that faith consists of both speech and action. It increases and decreases, as has been reported in the narration. The most complete of the believers with respect to the faith is the best of them in his manners. So Imam Ahmad rahimahullah is mentioning this point regarding the Iman, which is in the points of his Usool of the manhaj. So he is now talking to us regarding the point of the Iman. And he mentions here a principle, which is a principle that is having agreed upon by Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and a principle that would distinguish them also from the people of innovators. So this is the point where he said, وَالْإِيمَانُ قَوْلٌ وَعَمَلٌ. Al-Iman, saying, that is speech and actions. And then he says, يَزِيدُ وَيَنْقُص. It will increase and decreases. So here, this principle, Al-Iman, قَوْلٌ وَعَمَلٌ, يَزِيدُ وَيَنْقُص. Iman is speech and action, increases and decreases. It is a point that Imam Ahmad brings as a principle, which is a collective principle, which is agreed upon, and also it distinguishes us from the deviant groups, especially the Khawarij and the Murji'ah. And regarding this point, we have lots of proofs from the book and the Sunnah. From the book, the most clear proof is in Sahih, or from the Sunnah, I would say, from the clear proofs, is in the Sunnah of the Prophet of Allah, in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Imam Muslim, on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Al-Imanu bid'un wa sab'una shu'bah. That is, the Iman is 70 plus branches. And another narration, it says, bid'un wa sittuna shu'bah. The Iman is 60 plus. That means 60 and extra. And the two narrations, if we put them together, we always take the one which adds more. So both are correct. So we always choose the one will give us more. Which one is the one says 70 plus? So the highest of it, he says, أعلاها لا إله إلا الله. The highest of these branches, Al-Imanu bid'un wa sab'una shu'bah. The Iman is 70 plus branches. And the highest of it, saying La ilaha illallah. وَأَدْنَاهَا, and the bottom of that, the lowest of that, إِمَاطَةُ الْأَذَى عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ, removal of the harm from the path. وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنْ شُعَبِ الْإِيمَانِ. And modesty, haya, is from the branches of Iman. So the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, he brought us number of issues. And before we talk about these issues, let's talk about the Iman when we say qawl wa amal. Qawl, speech. Amal means actions. The qawl, it means the qawl, the speech of the tongue, and the speech of the heart. How does the heart speak? The heart speech, it is the i'tiqad, the tasdiq, the belief. That's the saying of the heart. And the actions are of two types: actions of the limbs and actions of the heart. Action of the limbs, we know that. But action in the heart, what is that? This is al-ikhlas wa niyyah, the intention, the sincerity. So niyyatun wa ikhlas, so we have saying of the heart and action of the heart. Saying of the tongue and action of the tongue. We don't, with action of the limbs, we don't say the action of the tongue. Remember that. Saying of the tongue and action of the limbs. So we have sayings and action. The sayings of two types and action of two types. The sayings of the heart and the saying of the tongue. And the actions of two types. Action of the heart and the actions of the limbs. Those are, as the and plus they said, yazidu wa yanqus, goes up and down. So some of the scholars had made this into a frame called al-khams nunat, the 5 noons, meaning those words which ends with noon letter. قالوا, they said, al-imanu i'tiqadun bil-janan. It is a belief in the heart, al-janan. Wa qawlun bil-lisan, and a saying of the tongue. So janan, lisan, ends with a noon. Wa amalun bil-jawarihi wal-arkan, and it's the actions of the limb. That's the third noon. Yazidu bi ta'ati ar-Rahman, that is increases by the obedience of Allah, ends with a noon, Rahman. Wa yanqusu bi ta'ati ash-shaytan, and it decreases by the obedience of the shaitan, ends with a noon. So you've got 5 noons. اعتقاد بالجنان وقول باللسان وعمل بالجوارح والأركان يزيد بطاعة الرحمن وينقص بطاعة الشيطان. And I can't make them in English in noons. So there are noons in Arabic, but I can't make them. I tried to do that as a poetry of the noon, but I couldn't do that. I mean, the words and the vocabularies have failed me for that. Right. Now, this is Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, how they believe. So, in this hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he brought to us all of that in this hadith. Al-imanu bid'un wa sab'una shu'bah. He gave us an example of the i'tiqad, belief, saying La ilaha illallah. He gave us an example of the saying of the tongue, to say at-talaffuz, La ilaha illallah. He gave us the example of the actions of the limbs, which is, that is, imatatul adha an al-tariq, removal of the obstacle from the path. He gave us an example of the actions of the heart, al-haya, the modesty. That's in the heart. So we got actions of the heart, actions of the limbs, saying of the tongue, and saying of the heart in this hadith. Al-iman bid'un wa sab'una sha'wa. So, for us, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, we believe that al-amalu ruknun fi musamma al-iman. That is, the action is a pillar in the iman frame. And this iman, according to this hadith, we could see it, it is parts, segments, because there is 70 branches plus. So if it is 70 branches, it's a compound, murakkab. And it's a compound, a murakkab. It's got i'tiqad, it's got the sayings, the actions of the limbs. I'tiqad, that is the saying of the heart, the action of the heart, and it's got the saying of the tongue and action of the limbs. When the scholars, they say, qawlun wa amal, al-imanu qawlun wa amal, they means the saying of the tongue, the saying of the heart, the actions of the limbs and the actions of the heart. When they say, al-imanu i'tiqadun wa qawlun wa amal, like this, it means the i'tiqad here is the sayings and the actions of the hearts, and the saying is of the tongue and the actions of the limbs. So when the scholars, they say al-imanu i'tiqadun wa qawlun wa amal, i'tiqad here is both the saying and the actions of the heart, and the qawl means the speech of the tongue, and the actions of the limbs. But when they say al-imanu qawlun wa amal, speech and actions, then the speech means the speech of the heart, the speech of the tongue, and the actions of the heart and actions of the limbs. Is that understood? This is Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So when we say, that is, the iman is branches and it's a compound, so then the Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they say because it's a compound, that it means the people are differ regarding how much of these branches they believe in. This is we're going to come to how to prove, that is for us, how to prove that the iman, it goes up and down. Right. So Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they say the actions of the limbs is part of the iman. And he who says, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah says otherwise, then he is a liar. Right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says, Wal Asr, Innal insana lafi khusr, by the time, human being is in great loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, except for those who had believed and did righteous actions. Except for those who believed and righteous actions. Now here the scholars, they say that the belief and the actions are one together. But the action is referring the khas, which is the specific, onto the general. The general is the iman. And from that iman is the actions. We don't say that the iman is something and the action is something else. They are together. So this is the action is part of that iman. Comes into that package. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ, that is in the night of Qadr, the angels will descend and a ruh will descend. A ruh is he what? Angel or not angel? Angel. So he's not saying angels will descend and a different species will descend. He says a ruh, who's a ruh? Jibreel. So he's referring specific because of Jibreel is a specific and he is very important. He's showing, and he's part of the angels. He's mentioning him, not mentioning him as to refer him to something else, totally different, separate entity, which is not right. Same thing here. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَامِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, صالح actions refer to and as from the same, but it is to show the importance of the actions. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَامِلُوا, عَامِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ is part of the iman, but it's to show the importance of the actions. So if we now believe that the action is part of the iman, then the people, they will never be equal in their actions, are they? Some people will do more than the others. Some people will do less than the others. And because of the people, they are differing in their actions, and the action is part of the iman, then their iman differs as well. Do you understand that? You understand the logic? So if you believe now, we have established right that the actions is part of the iman. And no way you'll find two people doing the same thing in terms of actions. People, they do more than others in terms of ibadah. So if it is the case, then their iman as well, in terms of strength-wise, differs from one another. So the people regarding the actions are of three, mentioned in Surah Fatir, verse 32. There are three types. The people, when we discuss them and refer them to the actions, there are three types. First type, the ones who does all the obligatory acts, all the fara'id, and he does as well the nawafil. What is the nawafil? The supererogatory. Those are the ones we call them sabiqun bil khayrat. They hasten and proceed and all the time persevere to do what? The good. Al khayrat. So sabiqun bil khayrat. The second type is the one who does only the obligatory and he does not do the voluntary. And these are the one muqtasid. Economization. Muqtasid, he's just doing the obligatory. Now the third one, who is the one zalimun li nafsi, an oppressor to himself, the one who does some of the obligatory, and he does as well embark upon some of the sins, and embark upon some of the disliked actions. He's a person who is falling short. So we call him zalimun li nafsi. He's unjust to himself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, ثُمَّ أَوْرَثْنَا الْكِتَابِ, verily we have given this book to whom? الَّذِينَ اصْطَفَيْنَا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا, the one who we chose from our slaves. فَمِنْهُمْ, some of them, ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ, he is an oppressor to himself. وَمِنْهُمْ, and some of them, مُقْتَصِد, he's just doing the obligatory, nothing else. And وَمِنْهُمْ سَابِقٌ بِالْخَيْرَاتِ, and some of them, they are racing into the khayrat بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, with the permission of Allah. ذَلِكَ من ذلك هو الفضل الكبير, this is the great of fadl. So now we ask this question, is it common sense? Because I'm asking, is it common sense? Because it's impossible to say that it's being narrated to us. Is it common sense that the one who is sabiqun lil khayrat, equal to the one who is muqtasid, equal to the one who is zalimun li nafsih in terms of iman? Is it common sense? Not to say is it being narrated to us. Is it common sense to say the one who does the actions which are obligatory, and on top of that he does the voluntary, is equal to the one who does only the actions which are obligatory, and equal to the one who is an oppressor to himself and just to himself? Is it equal? No way they are equal. And because of that, we say that their iman differ from one another. So if the iman differ from one another, it must be that the iman goes up and down. So the more actions you do, the more iman you will have. The less actions you do, the less iman you'll have. So we say, يزيد بطاعة الرحمن وينقص بطاعة الشيطان. It will increase by the obedience of Ar-Rahman, Allah, and it decreases this iman by the obedience of the shaitan and following the path of the shaitan. And this is what had distinguished us from the people of innovations, from the Khawarij and the Murji'ah. That is, iman yazidu wa yanqus. When we say it increases up and down, we are not Khawarij, nor we are Murji'ah. Al-Khawarij wal Murji'ah, in terms of iman, they are on opposite direction. Al-Khawarij, they say that the iman is one lump. There is no branches in it. It is not a compound, as we have said and we discussed. So if some of it falls, then all of it falls. Because it's one go. It's not really one part. So it's not solely one parts. It's one part, one thing, one lump. What for us, it is branches. If one branch goes, it doesn't mean the other branches are left. Still there. But for them, it's one lump. If part of it goes, that means all of it is gone. So when part of it is decreases, that means all of it is gone. Why? Because for them, the iman will never be correct until it is perfect. The iman will not be accepted unless it is what? Ultimate. But for us, no. Still we have ultimate, less than ultimate, 50%, 40%, we have 30%. Now for them, no. Either 0 or 100%. That's it. 0 or 100%. Those are the ones who had, when they say, they say that if your iman gone a bit less, then this is kufr, because their iman is not parts, is one lump. And that is why they have passed disbelief, kufr and takfir, on those who are sinners. So for them, the sinner is what? Is a kafir. Because they can't have a person which is, 99% iman. As 100%, or you're outside the iman altogether. As for the Murji'ah, they are the opposite. They said, hang on a second. No. The iman still there is one lump. So they agreed with the Khawarij. It has not gone branches. But we can't say that if, made a mistake, that's it, it's gone. So how to encounter their argument? They said, no. Regardless of what you do, the iman is still the same. So you could be a fornicator, still your iman as good as the iman of Jibreel alayhi salam. If you are a thief, still your iman is as good as the iman of Jibreel alayhi salam. Now the iman of the Prophet, even more than that. The iman of the angels. If you do all the types of sin, you still iman. That's why they say they're saying, لا يضر مع الإيمان معصية ولا ينفع مع الكفر طاعة. So when they say, for example, that there is no harm, regardless what you do, that is regarding of ma'siyah and ta'ah, into your iman. Iman does not increase or decreases. It stays the same. So regardless of whether you do fornication or you don't, still the same. We're going to talk about the Murji'ah in terms of their types as well. So both the Murji'ah and the Khawarij, they have gathered themselves on one thing. Iman does not increase or decrease. And that is why Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, in their creed treaties, they say, Al-Imanu qawlun wa amal yazidu wa yanqus. Increases and decreases. Why? To take us away from the Khawarij and take us away from the Murji'ah. So for them, the Murji'ah, they don't have Aslul Iman, Kamalul Iman. They don't have that. The root of the Iman and the ultimate Iman, they don't have that. Now let's talk about what are the proofs that the Iman goes up and down. We have lots of hadith. It's been mentioned in Al-Aqidah Al-Tahawiyah, in the Sharh of Ibn Abi al-Izz al-Hanafi, and he given us two types of proofs for that. The general proofs and the specific one. From the general proofs, the Quran, it was sent down into stages. So if we will stand down into stages, that means one go. It is not common sense that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, when they were at the beginning of the revelation, their iman stayed the same in terms of strength-wise when the last revelation came. Is that true? It can't be. It can't common sense. So their iman was what? Increasing, changing, increasing. So at the beginning of the verses, there were iman. But more verses, more iman. When they saw the victory in the Battle of Badr, so iman. When they saw Jibreel alayhi salam come, so iman. When they saw the Prophet of Allah with his miracles, more iman. It can't be to say they stay the same. It's not common sense. So from the beginning of the revelation, their iman was different from the iman at the end of the revelation. That is why we have Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu. When he's about to die, he gathered the companion, he said, لَقَدْ كُنْتُ قَدْ كَتَمْتُ عَنْكُمْ حَدِيثًا. I have actually concealed from you, O companion, a hadith. And now I'm going to say it to you. I've heard the Prophet ﷺ said, قال Allah subhanahu, the Prophet he said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, by the one in whose hand is my soul. If you don't sin, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you away. That means will kill you. And will bring other people in order to sin and seek forgiveness, and then Allah will accept their forgiveness. Now why did first of all, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari did not say this hadith at the beginning? And why did he say it at the end before he died? Put your finger up if you know. Yeah. Why did he stop saying it at the beginning and then later on he said it? Now, anybody would like to? Yes.
He doesn't want to encourage them to sin.
Well, he did. Then why did he say it at the end? He's still going to encourage them to sin. I mean, you are there. You're on the right track.
At the end, because he's, I say in Arabic, kitman al-ilm.
Okay, the reason he said at the end that he said it, he can't conceal, he can't hide the ilm, and that is he had to get away from that by saying it, because the Prophet he said, "Man katama ilman ya'lamu, aljamahu Allahu li jam'in min nar." He who does hide a knowledge which he knows about, Allah will put a fire bridle onto his mouth on the day of resurrection. So you have to say the knowledge. That's correct, but why did he not say it at the beginning?
Because their iman was not that.
Very good. You hit the point now. That is that. You see? Because their iman at the beginning, the companion, they're not that iman. So if they hear this hadith, they might think, here, hang on a second, the Prophet of Allah is telling us to go and what? Make sin. Brother, go and make sin, because otherwise Allah will kill you and bring somebody else. He would sin and seek forgiveness, and then Allah accepts his forgiveness. True or not? But they know, understand now later on, no, it doesn't mean that. It means that we, the son of Adam, we are made to what? To sin. Because we're the son of Adam. So you can't have a sinless person. You can't be as perfect as God, as the Christian they say, we want to make you as perfect as God. You can't have that. You are a human being. You are a person who would sin. So the Prophet of Allah says that you can't stay without a sin. Otherwise, Allah will take you away, bring somebody else to sin. But you're gonna sin, so Allah will not take you away. But it doesn't mean that you go and sin. And also the Prophet ﷺ, he told him in a hadith, إِيَّاكُمْ وَمُحَقَّرَاتِ الذُّنُوبِ, be aware of the insignificant things that you call it significant sins, small sins. فَإِنَّ مَثَلَ مُحَقَّرَاتِ الذُّنُوبِ, for verily the similarity of those insignificant sins whom you call them minor sins, كَمَثَلِ قَوْمٍ نَزَلُوا بَطْنَ وَادٍ, just like people came to a valley together. فأرادوا أن ينضجوا خبزهم. So they wanted to cook themselves a bread. فجاء ذا بعود وجاء ذا بعود. Each one brought a stick, a wooden stick. حتى جمعوا ما أنضجوا به خبزهم, until they brought enough sticks in order to set fire to it and bake the bread. فإن مثل محقرات الذنوب, the similarity of that is exactly like the person who is taking small sin, until they are enough to burn him, until they are enough to destroy him. Just that person brought one wood is not going to bake the bread. One wood, but put the wood with another wood, with a third wood, you become a bunch of wood, you make a fire. Same thing, small sin, and makes a what? Big sin, and he will destroy you. That's what it means. So when the companions heard this hadith, they know that the Prophetullah doesn't mean he's encouraging them to make sins. So the iman was not the same at the beginning, and that is why Abu Ayyub did not say that hadith, and that he said it later on. It's not just because as well, he's afraid to conceal and hide the knowledge, but also he said it when he knows that they are going to understand this hadith. Number two, we have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ to Aisha radiallahu anha. When he was in Mecca, and he is in control of Mecca, he is now having Mecca under his possession. He had repossessed Mecca. Aisha, she's saying to the Prophet, Messenger of Allah, I want to pray inside the Kaaba. Now, even he is the head of the state, he couldn't really have the keys for her to outside the Kaaba. He said to her, pray where? In the Hijr. The Hijr, you know the Hijr? It's like you're praying inside the Kaaba. Then he said, had it been that your people, what is his people as well? Had it been your people, not close to Jahiliyyah. All Mecca now are Muslims, by the way. They entered in Islam, but they are in the first, you could say, branch of Iman. Had it been that your people are close to Kufr, I would have knocked down the Kaaba and rebuilt it on the original foundation of Ibrahim. And that is the original foundation of Ibrahim. That is, will include the Hijr with it. It'll have bigger Kaaba. And I will have made for it 2 doors. One door will go in, and one door what? Come out. And I would lower the door. You know why they made the door like this, Quraysh? So that only the people whom they want them to go inside the Kaaba, they will bring them the ladder. Otherwise, you can't go inside the Kaaba. It's a bit high. Can you see it? So the Prophet would have what? Rebuilt it. So he would make the door stuck to the ground. And he would make another door on the opposite side. He could come in, go out. So everybody can have the opportunity to come inside the Kaaba. But he couldn't do it. Why? He had the power. But he thought that if he's going to demolish it, those people who are having less Iman, small Iman, they'll look, he is actually demolishing the religion of Ibrahim. He is ridiculing the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam, his father. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he left it. So it shows us that Iman was at the beginning what? Less, and then increased later on. Abu Waqid al-Laythi. Abu Waqid al-Laythi, when the Prophet ﷺ, he repossessed Mecca, and he's about to go to Hunayn because Thaqif and Hawazin, they gathered a lot of people to fight him. On the way, Abu Waqid al-Laythi, he says, an incident that took place, and before he's telling us the incident, he is telling us, please excuse us for what we're about to tell you, what we did. Excuse us and give us an excuse. That is, كُنَّا حُدَثَاءَ عَهْدٍ بِجَاهِلِيَّةٍ. We were close to kufr. We just left kufr now. كُنَّا حُدَثَاءَ عَهْدٍ بِإِسْلَامٍ. We just embrace Islam. So this is what he said. Why did he say that? Because what is coming ahead. We passed by a shajara, a tree, called Dhatu Anwat. Dhatu Anwat, people they hang, Kuffar used to have this tree, massive low tree, used to come and hang their weapons on it. Every time they want to go to war. They believe that that tree sort of charges their weapons, give it a supercharge, like an electrical charge. Put it there, the sword will become mighty, they could kill a lot of people with it. That's what they used to think. So they used to hang their swords onto that tree and make a ritual during the night and eat and drink, and then the following day they fight. So, if they fight properly, they would say, oh, good tree, gave us a good charge here, right? So we passed by a tree called Dhatu Anwat. And then after that, we passed by another low tree, which is big as well. Now we want the Prophet of Allah to bless that tree, to make it for us as well, a tree that we could recharge our weapons as well. Messenger of Allah, اجعل لنا ذات أنواط كما لهم ذات أنواط. Make us now a tree that we hang our weapons on it, just like those people have got a tree as well to hang their weapons on it. Look at that. He's not really saying, Messenger of Allah, we don't want to make it ourselves. You make it because you're a blessed man, you're prophet. Make us this tree to be blessed tree. So you could really put our weapon, and it becomes a mighty weapon. Prophet of Allah, he said, Allahu Akbar. That means, what are you talking about? قُلْتُمْ وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. You have said, by the one in whose hand is my soul, كما قالت بنو إسرائيل لموسى عليه السلام. Like the children of Israel said to Musa, اجعل لنا آلهة كما لهم آلهة. Make us a God like they have got a God. He's asking me to make a God. Now, their iman was not that much. They are called at-tulaqa. They were 2,000. They were 2,000. The army that went into Mecca, they were 10,000. Those are, mashallah, their iman is up. And there are 2,000 embrace Islam called at-tulaqa. They went with the battle. 2-3 months. So they embrace Islam only 2-3 months, 2 months, 1 month and a half. So their iman is what? Not that much. So those who had said, make us that one what? It's not from the companions like Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. Not these companions. Those are the ones who are like Safwan and Ibn Umayyah and all these just embraced Islam recently. Right, so we know that, alhamdulillah, that the iman at the beginning was not like the iman of the companions later on. The Prophet ﷺ in that hadith, he had mentioned 70 plus branches. And he mentioned in some of the hadith 3 branches, al-haya and others. And he mentioned as well 4 branches, mentioned 5 branches, 6 branches, 7 branches, 9 branches. He mentioned, and then he said 70 plus branches. We're asking, is it common sense? The one who does 2 branches equivalent to iman to the person who does 70 plus branches? No way. The one who does 70 plus branches from the iman, actions and all of that, he is much stronger in his iman than the other one. So the more you do from the branches, the iman goes up and up. This is the general proof. And we're going now to the detailed proof. The detailed proof, we have the ayat in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, in number of verses. We'll stay verse 1, that is 76 in Surah Maryam. Allah says, وَيَزِيدُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا هُدًى. And Allah would increase the ones who have been guided, more guidance. Increase them. He said, increase. وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَاهُمْ تَقْوَاهُم. Surah Muhammad, verse 17. قال وَيَزْدَادُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِيمَانًا. Surah Al-Muddathir, verse 31. The iman will, those people of the believers, they will increase in their iman. Also he said, أَيُّكُمْ زَادَتْهُ هَذِهِ إِيمَانًا. Who's amongst you that this had made them to be more a believer? Surah At-Tawbah. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَمَا زَادَهُمْ إِلَّا إِيمَانًا وَتَسْلِيمًا. It did not increase them except for iman and more submission. So when we see here that the iman is being mentioned in the Quran, increase, increase, increase. The decrease was not mentioned. But we know that if there is an increase, there is what? A decrease. Because if there is no increase, that means it's a decrease. If somebody did not increase his iman, that means he had decreased it. Do you understand that? So Allah did not mention the decrease, but He mentioned the increase. And everything, common sense, increases, it what? It decreases. It's common sense. So the one who decrease would decrease as well. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he says, Al-imanu yazidu wa yanqus kama qala an-nabi. Look at how fiqh of Imam Ahmad is delicate. He says the hadith of the Prophet of Allah, which is a hadith mutawatir, hadith which is accepted, akmalul mu'minina imana, the most perfect the mu'min who's got the perfect iman, verily ahsanuhum akhlaqa, the best in their manners. Can I ask, do you have a door to open because it's a bit hot now at the moment? Can I just ask for a fan or something like this? Jazakumullah. Just open that door if it's possible. Let air or this door.
Switch on, you see something.
Yeah?
He's going to switch on something.
Okay, switch on. Jazakallah. What, air conditioning or ventilation? Yeah. Jazakallah khair. Right, so Imam Ahmad, he admitted this hadith, and listen to this hadith. The hadith mentions the ultimate iman. Akmalul iman. Akmalul mu'minina imana. The highest point. But it did not mention aslul iman. So when we gather the Quran and the Sunnah together, we come up to this conclusion. Allah mentions the plus, increase. It means the decrease. And the Prophet mentions the ultimate. It means as well the root of the iman. Because everything that goes to the top as ultimate has to have a root, has to have foundation for it. If you gather the two words, we'll come to the conclusion. Al-imanu yazidu wa yanqus. Al-iman increases such a way with the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until it comes to a perfection, kamal. And the iman yanqusu bil ma'asi, and the iman decreases with the sins, not one says sins, until its root, it will be gone, finished. So increases to that, comes to the perfection, and decreases until the root of it will be finished. Now, Imam Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Salam, he says and it's been narrated here by Ibn Battah al-Ukburi, not Ibn Battah by the way, Ibn Battah is Shi'i. Ibn Battah al-Ukburi in his book Al-Ibana, he had mentioned so many scholars of Ahl Sunnah who says this, al-imanu qawlun wa amal, yazidu wa yanqus. He mentioned scholars from Mecca, scholars from the Medina, scholars from the Yemen, scholars from all the capitals, and also from the Arabian Peninsula, from the Kufa, from Basra. He had mentioned so many scholars who had said the same. In this, walhamdulillah, we can gain the following benefits. Benefit number one, that is the murji'ah. What are they in order to understand? Al-murji'ah are of three types. Listen, al-murji'ah, there are three types. And when we say al-murji'ah in general like this, we mean one type of them. But there are actually what? Three types. So which type that we mean, we're going to talk about inshallah. The first murji'ah, the ones who says that the iman is only the mere speech of the tongue. Only the tongue. So if you say, La ilaha illallah, your iman is perfect. Complete. It's mere, only speech. And this is the karramiyah. They say if you said La ilaha illallah, then your iman is full. You know what I'm saying? That your tank in the car is full. That means your iman up to the limit. Khalas, full. La ilaha illallah. Now look at this. If he was believing in that word in his heart, he will enter paradise. And if he does not believe in that word in his heart, he is a hypocrite believer. Look at that. Hypocrite believer from the people of the fire who will abide there in the hell fire. Subhanallah. Nobody had said this saying except for those people called Al-Karramiyya. Now imagine, person who says La ilaha illallah for them with his tongue is a complete believer. Yet they say about the heart, which nobody knows about the heart except for Allah. If his heart believes in it, he's in Jannah. All right, we understand that. If his heart doesn't believe in it, he's a hypocrite believer and he's in the hellfire forever. So how can the person have a full belief yet he will be toasted in the hellfire? It's not common sense. Well, what is that? How can you have a mu'min kamil and yet he goes to the hellfire? So as I said, subhanallah, these people, they don't know what they're talking about. So some of them, they say, it's only even not the heart, just the tongue and that's it. Nothing to do with the heart. And this is, wal'iyadu billah, kufran kuffar. Second type of murji'ah, the murji'ah who are the ones, which is the qawl of Abu Jahm Safwan, this is qawl Jahm ibn Safwan. They say that it is only the mere heart, that is ma'rifah, knowledge. So it is i'tiqadun bil jinan. And this i'tiqad bil jinan, there are two types. Some of them they say belief, some of them is just as long as you have knowledge about it. You don't have to have a belief. So according to them, Fir'aun, Iblis are complete believers. Because Iblis, he does have the knowledge and he has the belief in his heart that Allah is Lord, doesn't he? Doesn't he or not? Yes, he believes Allah is Lord. But he did not prostrate to Adam. And then he said, oh Allah, I'm going to deviate oh my Lord, he says. So he believes Allah. So for them, Iblis and Fir'aun, they are complete believers. Those are, as I said, the people or followers, either the extremists, which is they say the knowledge, or Al-Jahm ibn Safwan. Jahm ibn Safwan, he says the belief in the heart, it doesn't matter the tongue. The third type, those are the types when we say Al-Murji'ah, we mean them. Those are the ones, they say, it is a belief, saying of the hearts, action of the hearts, and it's the speech of the tongue, but no action of the limbs. So they have made irja' to the actions of the limbs from the iman. That's why we call them murji'ah. And we gave them a specific name to distinguish it from the other murji'ah. We call them murji'atul fuqaha. Murji'ah of the fuqaha. They have made irja', the separation, delay of the actions of the limbs from the iman. So they said it is belief in the heart, that is, they call them to them, saying of the heart, actions of the heart, and the speech of the tongue, but not the actions of the limbs. The actions of the limbs is for them is outside. Some of them, they say it is not linked completely to the iman. Some of them, they said, no, it's linked, but it is supererogatory, like a voluntary. Something is not needed. If you want to do it if you want. So some of them, they said it's not completely linked, and some of them said No, we make it as supererogatory. So that means it does not harm nor benefit the Iman. Those are called Murji'atul Fuqaha, and they are the Maturidiyah and the Ash'a'ira. Maturidiyah, followed Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, and al-Ash'a'ira, followed Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari in his middle stage, which is the stage of Ibn Kullab, because Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari had 3 stages in his life: Mu'tazila, Ibn Kullab, then after that Ahl Sunnah. Now the Ash'a'ira, they followed Ibn al-Hasan in his middle stage, which they don't believe he had gone to another stage. They don't believe that he had made letters like Risalat Ahl al-Thaghr and others as well. You don't believe in that. Right, so those are the Murji'at al-Fuqaha. Now, for us, Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, we have said that the actions of the limbs is part of the Iman. It's a pillar in the Iman. It's part of that lump of the Iman. It's part of it. But they say that this action is of 2 actions, which we call it Kamal Wajib. That if you have to make the actions, if you have, is it a Kamal? It's perfection, and it is compulsory. So it's compulsory. He who does leaves it, then his perfect Iman goes down to an Iman which is less than the perfect. So he had abandoned fasting, abandoned Hajj, abandoned, for example, the terms of which is obligatory things, then he is at the moment deserves to be punished. He's under the threat to be punished, but he's still a Muslim. So his Iman gone down. So this is because it's obligatory. And the other one, we call it Kamal Mustahab, perfection, but through something which is not obligatory, something which is recommended. Now, what is the difference between us and the Fuqaha, Murji'at al-Fuqaha? The difference between us and them is a huge difference. That is, we say actions, part of the Iman. They say action is not part of the Iman. Either they say it's not part of it completely, or it's only supererogatory. So we call this difference, is it Suri, and it looks like a difference, or is it a genuine one? It is a genuine one. So we don't agree with Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, who also had been documented by Ibn Abi al-Izz al-Hanafi and Imam al-Tahawi, Abu Ja'far al-Tahawi, the one who had wrote the Aqidah. We don't agree with them, because the scholars, they said, Sheikh al-Albani rahimahullah, that the difference between us and Murji'at al-Fuqaha is a difference of a huge difference. It's a real difference, it's a genuine difference. After all of that, Imam al-Albani have said this, they are accusing him to be a murji'. Subhanallah. He is the one who says Ibn Taymiyyah is wrong by saying the difference between us and the Murji'at al-Fuqaha is a difference which is not a real difference. It's not a genuine one. He said, no, wrong. We are different from them. Yet he's being labeled by some of those people who are ghulah are to be a murji'. Right. This madhab of irja', which is the Murji'at al-Fuqaha, it will lead to the takfir, and that is why it's dangerous. We find, for example, al-Maturidiyah, they say that the Shafi'is are kuffar. Al-Maturidiyah, Maturidis, the Hanafi Maturidi, they say that the Shafi'i are kuffar. Why? Because the Shafi'i, they say, Ana mu'min insha'Allah. I'm a believer if Allah wills. They said, you're a kafir, because you have made in your iman some sort of exception. That means you are not sure. Ana mu'min insha'Allah should be, I'm a mu'min. That's it. I'm a believer, not ana mu'min insha'Allah. So the one who says, insha'Allah, I'm a believer, he's a kafir for them. And that is why they said the Maturidi cannot marry from the Shafi'i. And that's for them in their books. And this, I would say, is it a genuine difference between us and them? Or is it just an image difference? I'm asking after this. Is it a genuine difference between the Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah and the people who are Murji'at al-Fuqaha? Or is it, as people they say, it is not really a genuine, it's just a small difference. It's a huge difference. If the Maturidis, they're not going to marry from the Shafi'i, it's a huge difference. It makes it different from them. And that is why when one of their scholars called Abu Su'ud, and he was having the nickname, the Mufti of the Thaqalain, Jinn and mankind. He gives fatwa to the Jinn and Mufti Thaqalain. This is label. He gives fatwa to the Jinn and he gives fatwa as well to mankind. That's what they call him. This man, he said, I got you a solution. How can the Maturidi, the Hanafi, marry from the Shafi'i? We treat them as the people of the book. So we take from their women, but we don't give them our women. Subhanallah. Look at the fatawa. This is fatawa, they call it fatawa. I call it balawa. It's not fatawa. Fatawi, balawi. Crisis. Balawi means headaches. Balawi means fitna. Wal-iyadu billah. Sheikh al-Albani rahimahullah, he said, there was a scholar who's a Hanafi. he knows. And he was astounded of a khatib, an orator. He makes a khutbah. MashaAllah, he's a khatib, good khatib. So he said, and Imam al-Albani is telling us what he had said. He said, had it been that this man, this orator, is a Shafi'i, I would have made him to marry my daughter. Look at that. This Hanafi scholar, he said, MashaAllah, but because he's Shafi'i, I can't give him my daughter. So are we having genuine difference here, or just a difference which is like a flimsy one? So we have a difference between us and the Murji'ah. Al-Imam Ahmad, he said in the Sunnah al-Khallal, he who says Al-Iman yazidu wa yanqus, decreases and increases, then he had been freed himself from the irja'. Al-Imam al-Barbahari, he says in Sharh al-Sunnah, he who says Al-Iman qawlun wa amal, speech and actions, and yazidu wa yanqus, and increases and decreases, faqad kharaja min al-irja'i awwalihi wa akhirihi. He had come out of irja', beginning of it and the end of it. He's not a murji' whatsoever. So if it is the case, how can you label Sheikh al-Albani to be a murji' when he states all of that? This is dhulm, injustice, wal-iyadhu billah. Right, this is now the point regarding the irja', and we have a bit of time. I wanted to go as well to the following point, which is the point of Imam Ahmad. Give me the book, please. Right. He says, point 38. وَمَنْ تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةَ فَقَدْ كَفَرْ وَلَيْسَ مِنَ الْأَعْمَالِ شَيْءٌ تَرْكُهُ كُفْرٌ إِلَّا الصَّلَاةِ مَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ وَقَدْ أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ قَتْلَهُ. And whoever abandons the prayer, then he has disbelieved. There is nothing from among the actions, the abandonment of which constitutes disbelief except for the prayer. Whoever abandons it is a disbeliever, and Allah has made killing him permissible. Right. This is the point of Imam Ahmad. We're going to discuss that point, and we see what Imam Ahmad actually he says regarding this point. We say first of all, the point regarding the prayer is a point which is khilafi, controversial. And controversial from the masail of al-i'tiqad, masail of the issues of creed, which is to do with kufr and iman. And he who had stated that difference and controversial amongst the scholars, Abu Uthman al-Sabuni in his Aqidah al-Hadith, al-Baghawi in Sharh al-Sunnah, also Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, who holds the opinion, he who abandons the prayer out of laziness is a kafir. He says in his book, which is called As-Salah, he said this is from the issues of that we have genuine difference and controversial issue amongst the scholars. He says, Mas'alatun min masail al-khilafi kabira, big issue. It's a big difference among the scholars. Second point regarding this issue. We cannot differ in any of the Aqidah matters except in this one. Because the issue of difference among the scholars of Sahaba is regarding that point. Which is the point of what? Abandoning the Salah. So you don't go to another point. You don't go, for example, to other points of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only that point. It is controversial. Third one. It was not being narrated to us. That is, we don't say, like the one who had said, the person who abandons the prayer out of laziness is a kafir. No one from the scholars would label him as to be from the Khawarij. And vice versa. The ones from the scholars who say he does not become a Muslim, he does not become a kafir, the one who abandons his prayer out of laziness is still a Muslim. The other ones, on the other side, they will never label them to be what? Murji'ah. Understand that point? Only one firqa had done that, which is called Al-Mansuriyah. This firqa from the Khawarij, the only one who had said that those people who say that the person who does not pray out of laziness is not a kafir, they are murji'ah, only the Mansuri said that. But us, Sheikh al-Islam, Imam al-Albani, he holds the opinion, the person who abandons his prayer out of laziness is still a Muslim. Yes, he's a fasiq, corrupt and wicked and evildoer, but he's still a Muslim, not a kafir. And the opposite of him, Sheikh al-Albani, Sheikh ibn Baz, Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen, he say that the person who abandons his prayer out of laziness, he's a kafir. Sheikh ibn Baz never labeled Sheikh al-Albani murji'. Sheikh al-Albani never labeled Sheikh ibn Baz as to be khawarij. Do you understand that? That's an important issue as well. Also, the fourth point, we say that most of the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, they don't regard the person who abandons his prayer out of laziness to be a kafir. except if he denies it. That means he says, well, the prayer is not really required. He's a kafir. But if he says that the prayer is there, but I am lazy, I am really make a dua, he's an evildoer, he's a wicked person, but we can't call him what? A kafir. And even the Hanbali madhab, which is the madhab that the ones who are holding this opinion, most of them are affiliated to the madhab of Imam Ahmad. We have more than one narration from Imam Ahmad. We're going to, inshallah, read that. Imam Ahmad has more than one saying. Sometimes he makes takfir, sometimes he does not make takfir. And even I'll add another point. The muhaqqiqun, the great scholars of the Hanabila, like Al-Imam Ibn Qudama, Al-Maqdisi, in his great book, Al-Mughni, he states that the person who abandons his prayer out of laziness is not a kafir. And he's a great Hanbali person. Great Hanbali. He's a great book. So the muhaqqiqun, also Al-Muradi, في كتابه, in his book الإنصاف في معرفة ما جاء أو في الراجح من الخلاف على مذهب الإمام أحمد. الإنصاف في معرفة الراجح من الخلاف على مذهب الإمام أحمد. He says in there as well, that is the person who abandons his prayer out of laziness is not a kafir. Now let's talk about what Imam Ahmad had said. Imam Ahmad, in his wasiyah, his recommendation to Musarhid, to Musaddad ibn Musarhid, in Tabaqat al-Hanabila, he says, the man does not leave Islam with anything except for shirk or reject and deny one of the obligation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he had said, and he denies it, then he's a kafir. Imam Ahmad, he says in the wasiyah to Musaddad ibn Musarhid, he says in Tabaqat al-Hanabila, that is, the man will not come out of the fold of Islam except by shirk, polytheism in Allah, or by rejecting an obligation, like he says, prayer does not exist, fasting does not exist. He is denying a faridah which Allah made it is obligatory. He denies it. So here in Imam Ahmad he says that the person who abandons the prayer out of laziness is what? Still a Muslim. Also, he says, adds, فَإِن تَرَكَهَا تَكَاسُلًا, if he had abandoned this obligatory, is out of laziness or tahawunan, that means he's not really taking it as serious, then he is under the mashia of Allah. If Allah wills, he will punish him, otherwise he will pardon him. So that's clear. Imam Ahmad, he is on the side of saying he's not a kafir. In the other issues, Masail, in his son, Masail ibn Abdullah, the Abi, he says he asked his father, the person who had abandoned Salat al-Asr, what should he do? He said, well, I will call him to pray. Otherwise, if he doesn't pray, I will kill him. We are with Imam Ahmad. We call him to pray. If he says, no, I will not pray, we're going to kill you. Say, I'll not pray. That means if you kill him, he's a kafir. Why? Because he had seen the sword, and he says, and he prefers to be killed rather than to prostrate to Allah. Then he's what? Definitely had said what is in his heart. Because he's accepting the sword. So we actually 100% with Imam Ahmad with this. So if the person who does not pray out of laziness, being put in the prison and being asked to pray, otherwise death, he prefers death to be praying, then he is what? He's a kafir. He will die as a murtad. So we agree with it. And also he said, what about a person, he asked him, who does not pray for 2 months? He will say, I will call him to pray and also compensate for those 2 months. So he does not call him a kafir. So Imam Ahmad, he had 3 sayings regarding this issue. One issue, he is not a kafir, which is his wasiyah to Musaddad ibn Musarhid. Second issue, he says that if he did not pray for 2 months, he's not a kafir. Another opinion, he says if he abandoned it 3 days, he's a kafir. Controversial. Third opinion, second opinion, we said that if he abandons it 2 months, he's not a kafir. Third opinion, if he abandons it 3 days, he is a kafir. In this book, he treats him as a what? As a kafir. So Imam Ahmad has more than one point. We add to you now Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. In his book Ad-Durar al-Saniyah, he says, لا يكفر بترك الصلاة. He does not make this kufr regarding the person who abandons the prayer. He says, وَنَحْنُ لَا نُكَفِّرْ, and we do not pass takfir upon إلا except for those ما أجمع عليه العلماء أَنَّ تَرْكَهُ كُفْرٌ. That except what the scholars had consensus regarding, that if you abandon it, is kufr. وَهُوَ الشَّهَادَتَانِ. And this is the testimony. Look at that. This is clear proof from Imam Muhammad ibn al-Wahhab rahimahullah that it does not make takfir upon the person who leaves his prayer out of laziness. Right. What is their proof, those scholars who say that the person who abandons his prayer is a kafir? They've got many proofs, but their biggest proof is one, which is Imam Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah. He says, ما بين المرء وبين الكفر ترك الصلاة. Between the person and kufr, al-kufr is abandoning the prayer. He says al-kufr, this is lamul ish al-ahdiyah. He says this alif lam, it means al-kufr. It's not any kufr. Al-kufr, which is the kufr that takes you outside the fold of Islam. This is the biggest proof of his. But Imam Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says that in the book on the Sunnah, that the word al-kufr was all the time directed onto the major kufr, not any kufr. But he's wrong. Because we say sometimes the scholars, they miss some of those, things what other scholars had brought forward. There's a hadith, which is a hadith sahih, that a woman, she came to the Prophet ﷺ. She was asking, and she was complaining regarding her husband. But she said her husband, MashaAllah, he prays his 5 and he fasts for Ramadan, he does, and even I can't really complain regarding this issue whatsoever. But she said the following word: Inni akrahul kufra fil Islam. I hate alif lam al kufr in Islam. So I want him to release me. So he said to her, would you return back his orchard, his dowry he gave you? She said yes. So he commanded him, طلقها, give her a divorce. So what did she mean? I hated al-kufr. Kufr al-ashir. That means she will not fulfill her obligation, that is the rights of the husband for him. She said al-kufr. So it is not the major kufr. Inni akrahu al-kufra fil Islam. That means I hate, that is to make this issue of, that is disobeying my husband, which would lead to me to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It does not mean going outside the fold of Islam. And that's a big proof to say al-kufr has been mentioned by the text of the Quran or the Sunnah, to say al-kufr has been used to other than the major kufr. Imam Ibn Qudama finally, he says in al-Mughni, وَلَا نَعْلَمُ أَنَّ أَحَدًا تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ. We don't know anyone who had abandoned the prayer, وَمَات, and then he died. لم يغسل ولم يكفن ولم يدفن في مقابر المسلمين. He was not washed or shrouded or buried in the cemeteries of the Muslims. ولم يفرق بينه وبين زوجه, or split separation between him and his wife. Or لم يورث أو يرث, or does not bequeath nor inherits. رغم كثرة تاركي الصلاة, even despite the fact that too many people had abandoned the prayer. So he says, lots of Muslims, they don't pray. We never heard, okay, about a person who did not pray, that this person did not bequeath nor inherit. We never heard. Have you heard about a cemetery for the Muslims who do not pray? Have you heard about that? Have you ever seen? We have Muslim cemetery and non-Muslim cemetery, but we don't have a cemetery Muslims where they don't pray. And that's a big proof that those Muslims who did not pray out of laziness, they're still a Muslim. Otherwise, they will be treated as kuffar. Not a Muslim, will not be buried in the Muslim cemetery. So because of this, we say he's an evildoer, wicked person. We fear upon him kufr, but he cannot be called him a kafir. And by this, we conclude our talk.